I sound like an old man, but tough these days. But it's always been tough because you want people to compete. You want them to always want the ball, and you
Yeah.
want them to always want to make the plays. Um, but in the game of football, you've got 11 on the field, and everybody's got a job, and you've got to do your job to the best of your ability to help your team. And I think we've got that with this group.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Another episode of Unwired Appalachia. Getting tongue tied. I'm doing so many of these right now. Special guest, Pikeville coach Chris McNamee. Coach, welcome back. With you being here, that only means football is underway. It's getting close. We'll talk a little bit about the season, but just kind of talk about how things are going right now. Early on, I know it's so early. It's hard to probably say a whole lot,
Yeah,
but
it
just kind of
is.
talk about the guys getting in and I guess working hard, I guess, to get ready for the season.
Yeah, and it's for us. It's an exciting time because you get everybody back, and you come off that dead period and haven't seen everybody in a few weeks, so get them back. And it was good this week to have them all back, and
Mhm.
just we're going to try to be gradual and continue to get better each week. But still really early, and we've got a long way to go, and hopefully they'll continue to come out and work the way they have been, and we'll just, like I said, continue to get better each week.
Yeah, and last year, it was like I thought it was one of those like transitional years for you guys. You had a lot of new faces and new places. Got a few guys back, it seems like, especially quarterback. Some of the more uh s- the positions where people see more. And I know up line and stuff is, where everything starts for most things, but you got a few guys back skill wise and stuff like that. Just talk about having some of these guys back with a whole year under their belt. A guy like JJ Reynolds who got a lot of good snaps last year, a lot of good reps, had a lot of good plays, had a really good season. Just kind of talk about having some of these guys back, after a year where a lot of these guys were young and had to kind of find their footing, I guess.
Yeah, and JJ's a great example. He's just really a leader on and off the field, and prior to last year, didn't get much varsity experience, and stepped in last year, and I thought he progressed well over throughout the year, and uh, did his best to take command of the offense. And I think he's worked harder, gotten better through the off season, and looking for big things out of him. With his play, but also with his leadership. And then, along those same lines, you look at Jeremiah Anderson, Jaden Justice. Those two have been starting since they were freshmen, linebackers, and stepped up last year and had a big role offensively as well. So looking for those guys to be leaders. And then up front, you've got Henry McNamee, Connor Ratliff, guys that have been playing for a couple of years, and really looking for them to step up. But all five of those guys will be seniors. And then you look outside at Cole Sloan. Cole will be a senior, had a good year last year. Um, Harrison Fields is back as a junior. I thought he had a tremendous sophomore
Yes.
year last year, and looking for big things out of him. And then we have some new faces. We had some guys last year up front, like Keegan Colley, who was a freshman, and just, you hate to do it, but he just got kind of thrown to the fire there early against Cal, and I think he started all of our games last year. But from that, he's learned and gotten better, and hopefully that'll carry on into this year. And Ian Ratliff, who played for us last year, was our center. He's continuing to improve. So just looking for big things out of all these guys.
Yeah, and a big thing with you guys, is, especially up front, is depth. When y'all have depth, it seems like it's a different type of team. You just kind of talk about your guys up front and getting guys like that, like you said, guys who were freshmen last year, making them force. It only makes them better. Maybe last year you don't want to see them all the time in those spots, but coming in this year, they've been through a lot of wars, they've been through a lot of tests. How does things like that help the team going forward? Coming in this year, I would imagine they know a lot more what to expect and confidence has
Yeah.
risen and just kind of talk about things like that if you can.
I think that's the big thing. I think their confidence going through last year, and each of them got better each week, and just the trust of their teammates. They know they got a little bit better, and they know what they've done in the off season. So looking for bigger things out of them this year. But you're right, depth is a big thing for us up front, and we've had to play a lot of two-way guys, and that can be tough in those trenches, especially early in the season. So hopefully, between conditioning and practice and playing these games, we don't want to be our best early. We want to continue to get better, and hopefully that'll happen each week.
Yeah, yeah, I believe, your running back, Justice is back. I can't remember his first name off the top
Jade.
of Jaden
Yeah.
off the top of my head. Uh, just kinda talk about having him back, and, it seemed like he did a lot of the load he carried a lot of the load last year. How is that gonna help him going into this year? Because I figure he'll be, one of your main backs, and who's some of the other backs who might, help lighten the load from him a little bit as well?
Yeah, and he needs that. And I didn't do a good enough job last year giving him a break. He was playing outside linebacker,
Mhm.
playing running back, and we didn't give him a whole lot of breaks, especially offensively. But I think this year we're comfortable putting Harrison Fields back there in the backfield some. A kid like Connor Holbrooks could help us in the backfield and obviously out wide. Colin Wright was a freshman last year and just ended up starting for us on defense the majority of the season. But he's a guy we're going to step in there at running back some too. So and then Jeremiah can step back there and carry the ball
Yeah.
every once in a while too.
Yeah, and as a coach, having some of that versatility, you guys like Jeremiah that you mentioned, you need a short yardage gain, you got a powerful guy like that. But if you need to stretch the field, you got weapons to do that as well. Just talk about having that versatility, trying to keep the defenses off balance with with the long play, the short, whatever y'all need to do, just kind of keeping guys off balance and really not knowing what y'all going to do from play to play.
Yeah, and that's going to be big for us this year. I think last year we were a little over close to 60% run, about 40% pass, and and that's not bad for us. I think in high school football you have to be able to run the football, especially late in the season. So
Mhm.
we're gonna, the run game's gonna be what we're gonna work on the majority of the time, and try to uh, keep the clock moving, keep the chains moving, that kind of stuff. But we feel really confident in JJ getting the ball to some of these guys out front, like I mentioned, Cole Sloan, Wesley Buck, Gage Burgett,
Mhm.
Harrison Fields, Quentin Warren. There's a lot of different guys. Cole Adams has had a great offseason, looking for things out of him. And then I mentioned Connor Holbrooks and just a lot of different guys we feel like we can get the ball to and be comfortable with them in space and trying to make plays.
Yeah, switching the gears, the defense a little bit. A lot of times I always talk about your linebackers because those guys are so active. But without the guys up front, really, setting that line and getting that pressure and winning their positions, it's hard for those linebackers to have as much success as they do. Just talk about the guys up front on defense and, really setting the tone for your defense because sometimes I
Yeah.
think those guys kind of get overlooked.
They do, and I think Gage Burgett stepped in last year. He's a long, kind of lanky kid, but stepped in, did a great job for us at defensive end. Look for him to have another big year, and then of course, we'll need Henry McNamee and Connor Ratliff to step in there some defensively. Keegan Colley, um, Joshua Jimenez, a lot of different guys that we feel like we can plug in because we're going to have to rotate those guys
Yes.
to do our best to keep them fresh throughout 4 quarters. But then behind them, you mentioned our linebackers, and that's like I said, Jaden and Jeremiah have been starting since they were freshmen. Jeremiah inside, Jaden's outside. Colin Wright started the majority of the year last year as an inside linebacker, and then Gavin Coleman was a freshman as well, and he ended up starting the majority of the snaps late in the season. So all four of those guys are back, which is a big help. And so we'll look for those guys to make big plays for us. And then secondary, Cole Sloan back at safety. Quentin Warren had a great year for us last year at safety. Harrison Field at corner, and just some different guys that we feel like we can plug in there and be comfortable with.
Yeah, and you mentioned Connor Holbrook earlier, and just kind of talk about a kid like that. You can kind of use him both sides of the ball, help out on defense, help out on offense, wherever you kind of need it. You got several players like that, but he's a new name that I guess people probably need to kind of pay attention to as well because he'll be a big help for depth wise for your team. I
Yeah,
believe.
we really hope that everything works out and he's able to be with us, but he's practicing with us now and doing a great job. He's a hard worker, really fast kid, smart kid, and got leadership abilities. So we're looking for big things out of him.
Yeah, and with your secondary, it seems like those guys, they're they're almost the extension of those linebackers. They're always aggressive. They'll come up and hit you. They'll play. It seems like they make plays. Just talk about, whether it's a linebacker, whether it's one of those guys in the secondary. It seems like you got a lot of playmakers in that end of the defense there.
Yeah, I think we do, and I think getting the experience they got last year really helped, and then another good offseason in the weight room has helped them as well with their confidence. And I really look for them to start off this year better than they did last year, obviously, but just and overall, just a great group of guys. And that's really what's going to be fun about this guy. They all get along, everybody gets along, and team first guys, and those are the years you really enjoy coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, and just kinda talk about, like we said, it's so early, but, when you really start thinking about the end of the season is be here in about a month or so. I mean, just talk about, by the time that season rolls around, your guys, I'm sure they'll be anxious to see some different competition and not just face each other every day. I'm sure that they're looking forward to it. Just talk about how you get guys ready from now to that week one, that tip off, because that kickoff is going. It's everybody circles that first week. How
Yeah.
just kind of talk about getting the guys, from now to then and getting them ready for that first game.
Well, and we come in each summer, and nothing's guaranteed for anybody. Everybody's got to work for what they get, and I think everybody understands that. And as I mentioned, we had a few freshmen starting last year that ended up starting in front of an older person. So it doesn't matter what grade you're in or anything like that. It's who's going to best help the team, and that's our job as coaches to get what we feel like the best 11 on the field is. So we want to compete with ourselves a lot throughout this summer, and then we'll start off with Corbin scrimmage here in early August, and that'll be a great test for us. But it is always good to see another team, another scheme maybe or something that you have to think a little bit and react to. So that'll be exciting. And then we've got Eastridge in our second scrimmage, and then of course Cal coming down here the first game of the year, which is a monumental task. But
Yes.
I think a lot of Coach Cantwell and what he's done there at Cal, and so we'll see what how we line up there.
Yeah, just talk about, that's a tough opening game for anybody in whatever class they are. I know Cal's 2A, but why do you try to have those games like that early on? I mean, and even throughout the season, it seems like every year your schedule is just, if you look at it, it's just, you got test after test after test. Talk about how important those type of games are. I guess, is it to gauge to see where your team is? Is it to see where, play good competition just makes you
Yeah.
better? Kind of what's your mindset with some of these
It
games and
is, and
schedule?
Cal being a four-time 3A state champ is you know is gonna be an uphill challenge. But we look at that as what who can expose our weaknesses, and then once those are exposed, how can we work to get those better throughout the year? And there's going to be some things they're going to expose that we won't be able to get better. They just got a tremendous football team. But then you look at, we're going to play Prestonsburg, which is a good football team.
Yes.
Raceland, excellent football team. Belfry, Johnson Central. Those first 5 games are really going to test us, and
Mhm.
it's not just physically and not just win loss, but how are we going to take things mentally? Because they all could be close ball games. We could win all of them. We could lose all of them.
Mhm.
But how are you going to respond? And we're going to use that for the back half of our season when we get into district, and hopefully into the playoffs.
Yeah, you mentioned Prestonsburg Week 2. Pike County Ball is always a huge game. I mean, that's one of the things we gear up for. We love seeing that game. Just talk about how fun it is, to be a host of that every year, to that crowd, that playoff atmosphere, seeing those big crowds and your guys getting out there to compete in that, because that's something that I think is very special that Eastern Kentucky and Pike County in general, a lot of these teams around here get to see every year that some other teams don't, because those crowds are electric. It's a lot of fun to play, and it seems like it's almost an event to kick off the season. Just talk about, how beneficial that is for your guys, especially early on in the season.
Yeah, and that's like you said, it's been going for I think 35 plus years, and
Mhm.
the bank and WYMT does a great job. Community Trust Bank and WYMT do a great job putting that on, and get a lot of advertising back. Always huge crowds. There's always a good crowd for the first game, and then the second game on Friday and Saturday night at Belfry and at our place. And you get the kind of competition that we've had typically, and Prestonburg fits right in there, just 20 minutes down the road. And Coach Hager and them are doing a great job with that program the past couple of years they've been there. So we expect a huge crowd that night, and that's great for our kids and their kids, and to be a part of because chances are throughout the regular season you're not going to see that kind of atmosphere again, and even in the playoffs, early rounds of the playoffs, sometimes there's not many people in the stands, so it's great for them to get that exposure.
Yeah, and just you mentioned, playoffs and stuff, but you guys also have to focus on district play as well. Hazard and Paintsville. I'm not sure if anybody else moved in there this year or not, but those are always important for seeding, especially early on. Just talk about showing up to those games because there's no cupcakes when you play Hazard or Paintsville every year. Those teams are going to be ready to play, and some new excitement. Hazard with a new coach, a Paintsville second year coach. They keep getting better and better. It seems like just talk about how important it is, getting better throughout the season. And when district play hits, being ready because, anything can happen in those
And
games.
and those are the biggest games, and like you said, you mentioned seeding. We want to be that number one seed going in because we want to be able to host a game or two in the playoffs, and that goes a long way for that. But also, Pikeville and Paintsville have been rivals for a long, long time, and us and Hazard the same way. So it's always a lot of fun getting ready for those weeks, and a little bit nerve wracking sometimes, but it always means a lot to our program going forward.
Yeah, and just kind of talk about, uh, we mentioned your tough schedule in the playoffs a little bit, but just talk about, for those who don't know, like why do you like try to get that tough schedule? Is it to get ready for the playoffs? Is it to get the tests out of the way so when the playoffs show up, you'll be ready? Like, what's your mindset when it comes to your schedule and putting it together? Because I know playoffs is your ultimate goal, having success in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think you play those teams to, kind of let them, and when you play a team like Cal, they're going to expose a lot of different weaknesses you have, and I think that once we see that on film and the kids go through it and have experienced it, then what can we do from there going forward that we're going to improve and not make those same mistakes or do our best to improve on what we did in those first few games. And I think when you look at Cal, they're a spread team. Belfry is, they're a run team, but they're offensive evolved. And then Johnson Central is just kind of a run, smash it type team. Racing's a spread team. So all those things you want to be able to not just play on Friday night, but also what are you doing to prepare that week for that offense or for that defense? And then you're a little more prepared as you go into district play into the playoffs.
Yeah, and just kind of talk about, depth, how important that is for playoff success. Anytime you're a Class A team, numbers is the game. Sometimes you got a lot of depth, sometimes you don't have as much. How important is it for you guys to develop depth, whether it's throughout the season, throughout off season, whatever? Because you never know if you need somebody gets hurt, somebody gets tired, you need an extra rotation piece, whatever. Just talk about how you guys try to develop depth throughout the season, get ready for the playoffs, I guess.
Yeah, and I put a lot of trust into our coaches, and they're coaching these kids every day in their positions, and they know when they're ready for a little varsity time, and hopefully there'll be a chance that they can get in and get that in not so critical time.
Mhm.
But just knowing that they're going to be ready and can be able to step in if somebody just needs a blow for 3 or 4 plays, like we have several guys that don't come off the field. Harrison Fields last year was
Yeah.
offense, defense. He's on every special team. So somebody's got to come in and give him a couple minutes rest this year. We feel like, and so that's great for them. But our coaches are going to determine how that goes each week and throw somebody in and see how they respond under the big lights.
Yeah, and you mentioned your coaches several times. It seems like a lot of you guys have been together for a while. How important is that to you as a head coach, knowing that this guy's been with me so many years? I don't have to question. I know he's whatever his suggestion is the best for the team. I don't have to do it on myself. I got a lot of good help around me. How important is that? Because I think some of the better programs have these coaching staffs that stick together for a while. And it seems like you've
Yeah,
got a lot of guys who've been on your staff for a while.
we do. We've had some that have been on 15 years, some that have just been on a couple. But we had a lot of guys that played at Pikeville, played for me at Pikeville that have come on. But I hate to get into naming names, but you have to mention Paul Sullivan, what he's done for our
Absolutely.
defense. Came on here as 2014, but Paul's a Pikeville graduate, helped with our middle school, and then uh, went away for a couple jobs, but ended up back here and just does a great job. Does a great job communicating, building relationship with our kids,
Mhm.
and that allows them to buy in a little bit more to what he's teaching. He does a great job with it, and then Steve Johnson's been with us since 2011,
Mhm.
2010, I think, actually, and does a good job with our receivers. And Daniel Harmon, who played at Pikeville, spent a lot of time at Shelby Valley, has got some good experience running our offense. Dylan Hamilton, uh, played at Betsy Lane, was a great quarterback down there. And we're fortunate to have him with us. Michael Braxton, as a guy from Georgia, and that's one of the benefits of having, University of Pikeville football.
Sir.
Or when he played, it was Pikeville College. But having him help our defensive line has been huge for us. And then Braden Hunter, Cade Slater both played for us doing our offensive line. Wes Pugh played for us
Mhm.
as receiver and DB. He's doing our DBs this year. Nick King stepped away to spend a little more time with his young kids, which is understandable. Sam Smith does a good job with our kickers, and that's something we didn't talk about is our
Yes,
special
yes,
teams. And
yes.
Steven Santos is a special
Special
talent.
player, yes.
Yeah, and he was 100%. I think it was 63 out of 63 on extra points last year. That it does a great job for us and super hard worker. And he hasn't been at practice because he's been at camps, but we'll get him back Tuesday night, and he'll be a senior. That's a big part of our game plan. Is if you can get three down in there and get 3 points,
Yes.
that doesn't happen very often in Class A football. So we're confident in his abilities and his kickoff abilities. Now putting that ball in the end zone and people starting on the 20 is a big deal for us.
Yeah.
So and then he's also going to be our punter again this year and does a good job. And Steven's a really hard worker and looking forward to his senior year.
Yeah, last couple of things I'll let you go. I've been taking up most of your time. It seems like a lot of your time today, and we appreciate it. But the goal's always the same for Pikeville. Everybody knows year in, year out. You want to be by the time playoffs roll around, you want to be playing your best football so you'll have a chance to compete at that state championship. But before you get there, because that's a long way away, we all know that. How do you get these guys to believe and get better week by week and believe in each other and believe in your coaching staff and trust what everybody's saying? Because I think that goes a long way throughout the season, building up confidence, building up trust, and getting better throughout the season. Can you talk about
Yeah,
that?
and I think a lot of that started in the off season. It starts with them in the weight room together, working with each other, pushing each other to get better. And it's not every year, but it's always good when you get a group of guys that they all get along together,
Mhm.
and you really feel like they're a team first. And we've had some really talented teams here lately that
Yes.
didn't get it done because of some different issues. But I'm really liking this group of guys because I think they just want the team to do the best they can, and they want to have a role in it, and whether it's big or small, they're not too worried about it. They just want to get the job done.
Yeah, that seems like, perfect, Pikeville attitude. Just go to work and try to get better each day. Is that what you kind of look for in these kids, nowadays?
Yeah, and it's tough these. I sound like an old man, but it's tough these days. But it's always been tough because you want people to compete. You want them to always want the ball, and
Yeah.
you want them to always want to make the plays. Um, but in the game of football, you've got 11 on the field, and everybody's got a job, and you've got to do your job to the best of your ability to help your team. And I think we've got that with this group.
Awesome, man. Perfect way to end it, I think. Yeah. Appreciate it so much, coach. For other coaches, if I haven't talked to you, I say this every time it seems like Corey, but we'll be getting up with you. We want all the coaches we can to come and sit down, talk to us before the season starts. These will be included in the Pike County Bowl magazine. You'll see a little QR code. So if you see Pikeville season preview and their schedule and all that, you see a little QR code. You can click on it, and hopefully this right here will pop up. You'll see me saying this again. So, yeah, also it'll be on our Facebook, of our socials. Even if you don't get the Pike County Bowl magazine, you can still watch this anywhere. So we'll be trying to get up with another coach really quick. We really appreciate Coach McNamee's time. For Corey Vance, I'm Randy Black. Unwired Appalachia. Thank you.